If you're a B2B software founder or investor, you want to talk to Tom Wisniewski. His NVP partners make big seed stage bets through a $200 million fund. Today, we'll find out where he's finding opportunity. Welcome back to another edition of The Angel Nest, where real angel investors and entrepreneurs partner to build great companies. I'm David Hemingway. I'm a 5-time founder and now an active angel investor. And my mission here is to talk about the companies that are powering innovation. We don't make or recommend investments at The Angel Nest, and this program is for informational purposes only. Today, we welcome back Tom Wisniewski, who is a partner at Newark Venture Partners, a $200 million fund where they invest in world-class B2B software and write $1 to $3 million checks at seed stage. They focus on fintech, e-commerce, including marketplaces, and digital health. Tom, thanks so much for making time to talk to us today.
Well, it's great to be here again.
So what got you interested in B2B software? Why the focus there?
Interestingly, I think that if you look at the world of new companies and new technologies, it's much harder in my mind to predict what the next big consumer trend is going to be. It requires just a very different kind of thinking to know where the next social app is going to be or the next fashion trend or whatever it might be. And I just think that the world of B2B is a little bit easier to predict. Businesses selling to other businesses, there's usually some rationale in there. I'm buying this product because it's going to help me in the following way. It's going to allow me to make money or save money or accomplish something. And the logic of that, of trying to wrap your head around how a new technology or somebody's new theoretical product could possibly impact another business is just, I think, an easier and more fundamental kind of discussion.
So it's a way to handicap things. If you can save money, do things more efficiently, you're much more likely to have a successful product.
Of course. I mean, there's an economic rationale in a way to it. Whereas if you think about consumer, it may not be that. It may be because it makes me feel better, or it may be because it just happens to be what's on trend then, or it may be just a very different way of thinking. The business needs of some company, if you understand the industry and understand how they're interacting with their clients, then you can understand a lot about what their needs might be and how a new technology or a new product might help them.
Does B2B spend enough time, effort, energy, money focusing on helping people use their software?
I think the good products certainly do, right? Unless a product's getting used, it's not generating value, right? So I understand you're kind of where you're headed with that. I think that one of the key things we look at when we look at companies, all right, the idea seems to make sense. All right, you've got some users. That's great. You even sold some software. That's great. Okay, let's take a look at how they're using it. How many hours a day are they spending in there?
Right.
Because that says a lot about, I don't need to understand necessarily everything about your business and about what you're doing. But if I can see that you're spending 4 hours a day in that software, it's a platform of record for you. It's something you're really involved in, right? Or if you're spending 3 hours a week in it, I understand how it fits into your overall life. So usage, super important, right? And it is measurable, and it is something that as an investor you want to take a look at, certainly for companies that are out there and have a product in market already.
I do feel like I hear more and more about people being really frustrated with their software. And I feel like I used to be the only one. But, it seems now, and maybe it's just because we're all using so many more pieces of software.
Probably a lot behind that, I would say, to unpack. One of the things I would say is that everybody has become a consumer of software because we all have these phones and we're all using software there. And B2C software, the kind of software that we're all as consumers interacting with on our phones, is pretty darn good, right? They've been at it for a long time. They've had to really focus on usage and getting people to like the product. Otherwise, they're not going to download the app. They're not going to spend any time with it. Apple, just as a company, is very user and consumer centric. So we've been very used to using pretty good software. So then when you transfer that kind of set of experiences to utilizing B2B software, right, if that's what you're talking about, like these other than that of the realm, your standards are quite high, right? Because you've been used to using things that work really well, that have been tested, for millions of people, and that's a higher bar. So you can run in. So if you're using B2B software alongside your experience, you're going to have high expectations and want it to function, really well. That said, your point just about there being so much of it, we're all overwhelmed with what's stuck on our phones and what could be stuck on our phones and in our computers, and usability and making it clean and simple definitely cuts through that. So the more is loaded on, the more good software or easy to use software is at a premium.
Now, tell me about the origin of NVP, because you originally with Newark Venture Partners. It's the first time I heard about it, doing some amazing work there in a place that really needed some innovation and bringing some new commerce, right?
Yes. So we're still anchored there in Newark, New Jersey. That's still a city that we think a lot about. We help underlying institutions there, nonprofits. We utilize our space there to help a lot of companies. In order to be competitive in the world of venture capital, we look at companies that come from everywhere, not only from that area. So we need to be seen as a national or international venture capital fund that invests where the best companies are, irregardless. We have those roots there that are important to us, but we need to be seen as as best in class across all kinds of venture capital companies, firms, no matter where they're based.
When you first meet an entrepreneur, are you looking for an idea and a team that's fully baked? Because I noticed that you have very impressive partners and investors in your fund who also provide mentoring for entrepreneurs. So where's the balance there? How much are you willing to co-develop with the team?
I mean, I think that we're seed stage investors, right? So that's our sweet spot in the overall spectrum of how well developed a company is that you're going to be investing in. There are things that are earlier than us. Call it pre-seed, call it angel, right? I guess for us, we like to invest in at least a team or a proto team, so the founders are there, right? So it's usually more than one, two founders, three. That kind of thing. The core team is in place. Doesn't mean they have everything. There's no way you do at that stage. They have a product, some kind of a prototype, and it's in market in the sense that it's generating at least some level of usage. So that's where we like to start, right? There's stuff that comes before us. There's certainly things that come after us, but that's what we're looking for. So that defines a certain realm, right? So a bunch of it's going to be in place, right? There's going to be that prototype there. The founders are going to have kind of the business side of things covered, meaning they know the customers they're selling to. They know that business environment, right? They know the technology they're using. They have a command over it, hopefully. One of the two founders or the founder has a technical background so that they're leading the technology development. If not in-house, then leading it through out-house, external resources. And beyond that, we would expect to be working with them over the period of a couple of years to help add the additional pieces into there. So often what you find is that they've got the product kind of well underhand. They've got with the underlying technology. They've got some business sense, but they lack elements of the sales profile. So we're going to help them add that. Or there's a financial aspect of what they're doing. They're not necessarily the best at doing the projecting their finances. So we're going to be helping them out kind of with that. So it's about building on what's there, right? So I think you are at this seed stage, in a man-to-man kind of lean in, and we are that kind of investor too, to lean in and help and keep adding the pieces. But you're building on, kind of that core that's there. And, then looking a little forward downstream, they're going to be building on additional things onto that. They're going to be building out their sales team. They're going to be adding a marketing person at some point. They're going to be adding a CFO. That's probably a little upstream from where we are. But.
No, I think you just made an important distinction. You said you want to see usage. That's as opposed to revenue.
Yeah, I think that to me, when you think about revenue of an early stage company, it's not the dollars that they're making so much in the sense, hey, are they breaking even or not, or doing this, because that's kind of unrealistic at that point. But dollars and people paying for something are an indication that there's some value there, right? Usage is the even more basic one. If they don't have to pay for it, are they using it? Because if they're not using it, I should say, what's there, right? Because some instances people pay for things and then they just sort of sit around, right? So the more primary metric, the more underlying fundamental metric is usage before you could even get to thinking about what the dollars mean. So yes, we look at companies, we look at how their customers are using the product, whether the value that the customers are getting out of it is the intended value, is the sort of target value, how does it fit into their overall the client's underlying day-to-day work, right? How important it is to them. Do we feel like this product is delivering upon, an important enough problem, delivering enough value in a sense that that company can be, built up, not just a product, but some kind of an entity, a company that can survive over the long period, enhancing that product, making it more and more valuable.
So you're doing the work to answer the fundamental question, which is, will customers pay for this?
Yeah.
Because so often, great entrepreneurs come up with amazing products, but they lack the ability to actually go out and stand up enough clients in order to build a business, right? Mm-hmm. So probably 100% of the companies that fail for lack of revenue, or at least very close to it. So that's a hard distinction because there are a lot of folks who will use stuff for free. So, but at your stage, you've got to make a decision of whether or not, when the time comes, people will actually pay.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. And then the key thing you're looking for, all right, if people aren't buying it or not buying it very fast, or where's the next set of sales going to come from? If you're questioning that, right, is because there isn't product market fit yet, meaning is the product just isn't doing enough, maybe because of its interface or because of its fundamental feature set or whatever it might be, or is it the selling, right? As you were sort of alerting to, maybe they do have initial product market, but the fit's not quite there because their selling is, immature, right? They have not developed, an ability to, that set of skills. And often that is missing. As you said, you get great product teams, technology teams that will, by their very nature, you're good at some things, you're less good at others, will have less well-developed sort of sales skills. But it depends on the team. Sometimes you get a great you get a team that's got that sales DNA in place. Other times you don't. But the great thing about sales is no matter where you are in that journey there in terms of having those skills, there's always room to improve. And that's always part of what you're looking at as a seed stage investor, as a Series A stage investor, is how do you help that company move up the spectrum, getting better at sales, in addition to being able to take their product and make it better and better. Because, like I said, without the sales, without the ability to get it out there, it doesn't matter how good your product is, right? You're gonna fail.
Everything else being equal, would you rather back a piece of software that solves a new problem or a piece of software that has to replace an existing piece of software?
It's a tough one because I think that there's pros and cons to either side of that, right? I think that net new is exciting, right? Because you're going in there, you're dealing with a new area there, opening up a new market against a new problem, and that could signal that there's a bigger opportunity, right? And that this company is doing something truly innovative, and therefore there's going to be less competition and more differentiation relative to whoever else might be out there looking at that area. Flip side, however, is that it is very new, right? And there's less to compare it to. If you're in the opposite case where you're putting a product into a market that has existing solutions in it, you're going to be going up against the competition. You're going to be you're having to differentiate directly against what it is. They're going to have to take out some software in order to put yours in, right? Kind of a situation. Good part of that, though, however, is people are used to buying that solution, right? And therefore can look at you and say, all right, well, you got a better mousetrap. I know what this is. I just want yours because yours is a better form of this, right? I don't have to sell you on widgets in this particular case. I don't sell you on that category of software or whatever it might be. You already know it. I'm selling you on mine being a better version of that. So there's a little bit of ease in the selling process if there's already a product in market, if there's already some experience on the part of the clients in buying and purchasing things and that are that product or something similar.
And you like marketplaces where so many of us fear to tread.
Yes, marketplaces. Marketplaces are you sort of double. Why do people think they're challenging, and why do I find them kind of exciting? I think it's because there's two sides to it, right? You have buyers and sellers on a marketplace, right? So you have two sets of value propositions and two sets of customers, if you will, that you need to serve in order to make work. The cool part about it is when it does work, it's a very powerful digital selling model, which can create a lot of scale very quickly and very efficiently. But it's not without its challenges, certainly.
Is your bar higher to invest in a marketplace?
Yes, I would say in the sense that I'm going to be looking for things on both sides there. I might not be as questioning of your suppliers if you're a software company, right? Who supplies the software that you're using. I may not be looking as closely at sort of things that the partners that are upstream from you that you may be interacting with. I'll look at them. In a marketplace setting, that's super important. I got to know both sides of that. I got to look at both sides of it and understand the value prop to the people who are supplying things to your market and people who are on the other side buying things. So the distinction there is, I think, it just by its nature requires a bit more scrutiny. That said, also my expectations about where you might be in the process of going from idea to prototype to whatever are also going to be different too, because I'll realize, kind of given how hard it is to do that, there's a certain handicap I'll give to where you are in terms of your ability to have brought on partners from both sides.
Right. And then the question of the day, maybe the question of the decade, what about AI?
AI.
How's that going to affect B2B software?
How's that going to affect B2B software? So as an investor, first of all, I'll say that I have found the last year or two to be kind of a conundrum when it comes to venture investing, because on one side, I am convinced that this AI is an extremely important technology. It's going to revolutionize nearly everything. We're going to look back 10 years and think this was one of the big trends, like people put mobile in there or SaaS or whatever. Pick a trend out there that we saw change a lot of different industries. I believe AI is one of those fundamental technologies that's coming along, and we are at the ground floor of this. So that's very exciting. And as an investor, that spells opportunity. But then you look at what's out there, and you can't help, in terms of opportunities and the things that are getting talked about, right, in the press, you can't help but be a bit of a skeptic when you see these gigantic valuations. And, in order to compete, people are, the going in valuation is, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they're raising billions of dollars and just to get going, right? And you look at, say, LLMs as an example, and ChatGPT is the product that's been out there the longest like this. How am I going to possibly invest in that or a competitor of that? You look at it and you're like, I'm totally skeptical of that as an opportunity to invest. So what should I do, right? On one hand, I really believe in this. On the other hand, the things that are being talked about out there and being given all the help, really feel like a hype cycle. I think the answer that I've settled on is it's not about the fundamental technologies, the LLMs or models and things like that. It's about what the B2B world is going to do with them. Mm-hmm. It's going to take these technologies and apply them to places and solve problems that up until AI wouldn't have been capable of solving. And that is an area that is ripe for investment, and it's going to look a lot like other types of software revolutions. It's not just the AI. It's about AI being used within a broader piece of software, and that software is extremely well verticalized or created a horizontal application that fits a particular use. So I'm not going to, it's not, as a client, if you think about it, as a business client, B2B client, do I really care if it's AI or not? No, I'm not caught up in the hype. I want it to perform something. Whether it's using AI or not, I want it to solve a problem, to do something, right? And AI can be a piece of that, but it doesn't need to be, and I think it nearly has to be part of a larger solution.
It's fascinating with some of the public companies, right? They come out and they talk about how much they're investing in AI, and that's sometimes a hit to their stock, but it's good for the companies that are selling the AI solutions. It's like a ping pong ball, it goes around.
True. The AI companies that are investing in the fundamental infrastructure are spending a lot of money, obviously building data centers, if that's what you're talking about, and they're getting points for spending more and more money, which again seems crazy. I think again, you're at that conundrum. I believe in those technologies. I believe that there's going to be winners out there, and that those technologies will do a lot of things. But I don't see, as an investor or as an entrepreneur looking to start a company, how I would kind of compete with that. So it's sort of like, well, what do you do with it, right? We can all sit around and smile and get excited about ChatGPT, but how is it going to help us create a business or invest in a new business? And that to me is more of a dead end. I think looking at how you're going to apply them, right, and how you're going to use them to solve a problem is a much more interesting question, and one that's accessible to entry entrepreneurs and seed stage investors like myself and like you. A couple examples I could give of companies that we invested in over the last year that I think have those kind of characteristics to bring the life. One is a company called Avena. They do it's a software for enabling more effective and efficient selling. So their clients would be software companies, B2B software companies that utilize a stack of software to do their selling. So they have a CRM, maybe 2 CRMs. They have Salesforce and they have HubSpot, and they have 6 pieces of other software that help them with their with their outbound email and their various aspects of their marketing and the collateral and whatever it is. And all of this stuff is working, sending things and trying to receive signals back from clients. Well, but that creates a lot of data that's not really being coordinated or utilized. What they figured out how to do is utilize some bridges that are available today already, and build some of their own to pull data out of all of those different pieces of sales and marketing software, normalize it, apply data science to it, apply AI and ML to it, and extract insights from it. Right. And then with those insights also generate outbound collateral and outbound things. So what would be an example of what they do? They can see that you as a potential client are on the site. They can see what you're reading and see that you're interacting with this piece of collateral and that you were also at some conference. That goes into a note that gets generated automatically and gets sent to the salesperson saying, this person who we sent these 3 things to recently was on the site today and they were looking at X, Y, and Z. We would propose the following actions, right? Send them an email, and here, if you want us to generate a draft, we'll generate a draft for you, right?
Sounds like a sales manager in your pocket.
Yeah. So there's an example of where it's taking AI, using it to solve a in this case, a sort of horizontal sales-related thing for, B2B selling in software companies.
Great
right?
stuff.
Yeah.
Just when you think that B2B couldn't be doing any more, you realize it's actually the never-ending journey, right?
I think I would maybe even pose it the other way, which is if you look at B2B world at how backward it is. There's just endless amounts of opportunity. Right. If you look, especially if you look at the industrial world, technology for them is email. Right, still using fax machines, right? Lots of paper, Excel spreadsheets. That's technology, right? They have yet to adopt digital tools beyond those, but they will, right? Question is when and how. Right. So, and then you have places like sales where they have adopted all sorts of different technologies. They're on their 6th generation or something, or whatever it might be, but it's still not that good. It's still not integrated, and there's still opportunity, kind of there. So even the more advanced ones are looking at what's the next wave going to be and how is it going to be built on top of what's there. And then for the industrial world, the places that are much less advanced, it's what's that product that's going to break through, that's going to convince people who have been doing business on paper and with an Excel spreadsheet and the phone, and what's going to break through and get them to change and use a piece of software to make the jump into digital selling or digital commerce, right?
So the ultimate innovation is really to make it simple enough.
Yeah, make it simple enough. Also, in that it works, right? Well enough that it provides enough a jump in value that I'm willing to change what I'm doing. Because as we all know, kind of dealing with the real world, trying to get people to change.
Not easy.
Right? Not easy. Right? You got to catch them at the right moment, maybe in some point of distress. Maybe where a next generation person has come up and is taking over, and offer them enough initial value, so that they'd be willing to adopt a piece of software, and that gives you your entry point where you can then kind of build on top of that and create more of a platform.
Great stuff. Tom Wisniewski from Newark Venture Partners, thanks for joining us today.
It's been great. Thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed it. You can find contact information for Tom and for our other guests on our website, theangelnest.com, where you can also reach me if you know of an interesting company or a topic that we should be talking about. I'm David Hemingway. We produce The Angel Nest with help from Rob Higley and Charles DeMontebello. He's at the controls of CDM Studios at the beautiful Art Deco Film Center building just west of Times Square in New York. Thanks for listening. Here's hoping my fellow investors and the founders they support find their next great venture. So long until next time.